All right, let's take a breath and unpack how we got here and how this final was ultimately decided. Because this wasn't just a game, this was a collision of momentum, belief, and timing. Let's start with Fiji. From day one, Fiji looked like a team that knew exactly who they were. They came through the pools unbeaten, handling pressure early with that extra time win over South Africa, and then backing it up with control rather than chaos. When the knockout rounds arrived, Fiji didn't chase moments, they waited for them. That patience showed in the semifinal against New Zealand. Fiji absorbed early pressure, stayed connected defensively, and trusted their ability to strike late. That win didn't just book a place in the final, it confirmed Fiji were comfortable living in tight games. Now look at France's path. France earned their way here the hard way. Narrow wins, defensive stands, and a huge semifinal performance against South Africa. That was the match that defined their tournament. France didn't outgun the Blitzboks, they outthought them. Strong breakdown work, smart exits, and composure under pressure carried them into the final with real belief. So when these two teams met, this wasn't flair versus structure, this was confidence versus momentum. The final itself reflected that. France came out sharp. They slowed Fiji's ball, challenged them at the breakdown, and forced them to play deeper than they wanted. For long stretches, France controlled the rhythm. The scoreboard stayed tight, and you could feel the tension building. And then came the moment that changed everything. Midway through the second half, with France pressing and threatening to take control, Fiji won a turnover inside their own half. Not a spectacular one, just a perfectly timed contest over the ball. But what happened next is where champions separate themselves. Instead of clearing, Fiji played. One pass, then another. A support runner hit the line at pace. The offload stuck. Suddenly, France were scrambling, their defensive line fractured, and Fiji were moving forward with confidence. That single decision, to trust their game in that moment, swung the momentum completely. The resulting try didn't just change the score, it changed the energy. From that point on, Fiji were dictating terms. Their defense tightened, their support lines sharpened. France were still in the fight, still dangerous, but now they were chasing the game on Fiji's terms. France had one last surge. They pushed hard in the closing minutes, testing Fiji's line with everything they had left. But Fiji held firm. Every tackle landed, every ruck was contested. The composure that carried them all weekend showed again. When the final whistle blew, it wasn't relief, it was certainty. Fiji had managed the moment better. This was not a lucky win. This was not chaos rugby. This was Fiji understanding when to accelerate and when to stay calm. And that's why this win matters. Because with this victory, Fiji didn't just lift the trophy, they secured back-to-back Singapore Sevens titles. In a format where consistency is rare and margins are brutal, Fiji have proven again that they are the benchmark, not just for skill, but for decision-making under pressure. France leaves Singapore stronger, more confident, and closer than ever. Their run to the final was no accident, and they pushed the champions to the edge. But in the end, this final belonged to Fiji. They read the moment, they took control when it mattered, and once again, they walked away with the crown. Thanks for listening, and make sure you join me again for the Perth Sevens, where the story continues.